Hello, wonderful students of Holy Family. Thank you again for tuning in to my presentation in an effort to prepare us and provide an overview of our face-to-face class time. So I'd like to introduce you to our module. So what we are focusing on is the development of concepts, those early literacy skills about concepts of print and the role of phonics. Our agenda is very straightforward. We are focusing mainly on our content for this time, which is early literacy. Your connect and collaborate enclosure will very much align with your asynchronous work. As I reviewed your asynchronous assignments for this week ahead, I noticed there are a few which may take some time. So I wanted to respect that and provide additional time for you to complete that. Our norms and expectations for our classes is what we synthesized together using our R2D2 to be present, to be respectful, to be prepared, and to be reflective. Our word wall, if you will, for our presentation is listed in front of you. I'd like to highlight what I will be focusing on. Mainly will be your holographic stage of development, our interactive read alouds, phonemic awareness, shared reading, the telegraphic stage, and word awareness. These are terms associated with language acquisition and child development. I'd like to reiterate our guided reading level chart, which also shows our lexile levels. We are looking at our development prior to perhaps kindergarten level. And then in terms of being teachers and those who are facilitating literacy experiences, what can we do to build a lasting and strong foundation for our students to set them up for success? So early literacy can be promoted through, I like to say, the didactic exchange of communication in early childhood, where we have our babies and infants and they're being exposed to just rich communication between caring adults, the asking of questions in their environments, really sparking curiosity. We can say that this is very much cultivating the holographic stage of development. Now, this takes place at approximately 12 months old. So, this is when a child would begin recognizing a parent, such as mom, and saying mom, or mom, muttering, or dad, dad. So, this is the utterances of perhaps one word, and they're slowly connecting that language is associated with their environment. The telegraphic stage is approximately 18 months old, and this is where two word utterances, or the child is linking a verb along with the noun rather than just a mom, mom, I see mom, or mom reads, or mom works, such as that. After 2 years old, we can consider this as the language explosion, where really sky's the limit, and very much nurturing and enriching children all around with communication, and really having concepts of print modeled by those who are reading around them. And that leads into some of our instructional methods, even as early childhood educators. I like to think that this is even relative to older learners as well, because it always increases engagement. And I think also the older children need space to develop these communication skills as well. So, our instructional methods can be interactive read alouds, where you're having and challenging your student or students to identify certain words in the text, asking questions while you read, leaving out words, and this often heightens reading development and reading comprehension. Shared reading as well, where we have perhaps the instructor reading a page and then a younger child often shares their reading of a page, but more of just shared reading, just having the love of literature. Informal play centers are often promoted in early childhood education, but this can be um, such an instructional practice that I see that would be relative for all students, whether you're in kindergarten, preschool, or even 12th grade. Just having that time to explore, to play, to label objects, communicate, use your imagination, spark curiosity. It ultimately heightens language. So we like to measure, and as humans, measure progress for the most part, but we also like to have at times a framework of, okay, is a child where he or she is a child progressing at a developmentally appropriate rate? Are they where they should be? Do they have an understanding? So, a New Zealand educator, Marie Clay, developed an assessment known as the concepts about print, or concepts of print, as how I know it, test. So, oftentimes the acronym is CAP. So, this in turn is basically sitting down with a child and seeing if they have an awareness that letters form words and they convey meaning. So children often develop concepts about print when they see words around them, such as like billboards and signs, and they follow the print as their family members and preschool teachers read to them. So that links back to practices such as interactive reading and writing. So the assessing the concepts of print um, can be assessed, as I said, and I'd like for you to watch a video. I'm hoping that you are able to hear this video, but I will post it on Canvas in the event that the audio is not working for you. But when a child has been read to at home, many of the concepts related to print conventions and book handling have been mastered before a child enters first grade. However, children who have not been exposed to books or are read to will likely be confused by questions. Okay, so oftentimes maybe a teacher can, although this is very intentional, but can very much have open-ended questions such as, who can show me the title of the book? So if you are sharing a book, and oftentimes in early childhood, they're within larger text or shown in a large format, that would be an opportunity to ask these questions and gain a formative snapshot of your class. So these questions are generally included in any assessment of a child's awareness of print, conventions, and book handling. So here is a video. Okay, so this was an example, and I could see that the instructor or the administrator who was facilitating this assessment was using a lot of positive reinforcement. And even though this particular child seemed to have a strong sense of print, it seemed as though the instructor took it to the next level and had her identify and point to a word, even the punctuation. So it's interesting how you can gauge understanding in that regard. Okay, so a little example of the concepts of print. I'm sure you have heard about in your studies phonemic awareness as an essential building block to language development, which is under the umbrella of phonological awareness. So we know phonemic awareness is often referred to as the manipulation of sounds. So if I had d, a, d, I know that D is the beginning of the word, A is the middle, and then we have another D sound at the end. So you are focusing on sounds, but you're hoping to then build that sound manipulation to swing into the visual representation of letters and how they make sounds. I wanted to show you an example of the phonological awareness screening test named the PAST. So this sometimes can be seen in a formal approach, but I also have a copy from Kilpatrick, who does a lot of work in fluency. The scoring sheet would look similar to what I'm showing you now. You can assess syllable levels of a child, the onset rhyme levels, so all, and then you could ask, okay, if I say fall without the f, you get all, and then assessing that. So that's would be related to your onset rhyme, the phoneme levels, and this very much breaks it down. So this is an example of the scoring sheet, which would be kept by the teacher. In addition to phonological awareness, which I said is the precursor to phonics, so once you have a secure sense of phonological awareness, you could then assess a child in the area of phonics. And with that said, I have an example. I had it up and now. And this is based off of Orton Gillingham, which is also a research-based phonics learning sequence. I do have training in Orton Gillingham, and it is a research-based program, as I just mentioned, and it's systematic, and there are building blocks. So these are examples of how you could assess as a starting point. So I like to use these with students if I'm finding that, wow, gosh, they really are struggling in word recognition. And it leads me to a question, do they even have a strong, secure foundation in phonics? This could be used to assess those areas and to obtain a baseline. So another example. I will be posting this video of a word sort example that could be used as an instructional guideline. There are programs named Words Their Way, which again is a sequential and systematic approach to building phonics and phonemic awareness. I'll be posting that to your Canvas. I would be remiss to not mention current trends in the science of reading. Scarborough's Reading Rope. This is an infographic of the proverbial reading rope, and this displays what essential parts are needed in order to become a skilled reader. So we're focusing mainly on word recognition, as you see below, word recognition. So phonological awareness, decoding, and sight recognition are all layers under word recognition. However, as I mentioned earlier, that didactic conversation with caretakers, concepts of print, perhaps that interactive reading and writing can also bolster language comprehension. So these two are the essential domains, which are linked together, if you will, and tied together um, to hopefully grow a skilled and fluent reader. A review of phonemic awareness. So if you have an assessment and you see consonant, vowel, consonant, here are examples. CVCE is consonant, vowel, consonant, E on the end of words. CVVC are consonant, vowel, vowel, consonant. So that notion of when two vowels are walking, the two vowels go walking, the first one does the talking, that song we sing. Okay, so from this point forward, I would like for you now to check in and have your self-awareness in view of your physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. As I said earlier in the presentation, I would like for you to take this time to work on your asynchronous work, and we will dig a little deeper in these areas so you can very much use these with your students and then ultimately plan for instruction. I want to make certain that on page, let me go back. I wanted to note that in your, sorry for fast forwarding. So your textbook on page 146 summarizes some instructional strategies. So if you are working with a student who is struggling in these areas and they perhaps need remediation or intervention or strategic work, page 146 to about 148 provides some insight on how you can address these issues. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you all are safe and well.